I'm going to teach you guys about anchors. So, the new season, there's a new combat mechanic and new assists. So everyone has been asking me, what do you think about my character's anchor? Do you think this character is a good anchor? Anchor. So let's just go over just my general ideas and thoughts about anchors. So, on the left, we're going to have my team. And on the right, let's just pick, say, for example, just this team right. Let's pick the character that everyone thinks is a good anchor that may or may not be a good anchor. But let's do it. So, World Tournament Arena. So the main things you have to consider is when picking an anchor, can my character make the comeback? 3v1, you know, 2v1 or 1v1, can you win by yourself? A lot of people ask me, you know, Krillin has a beam assist now, can I play him anchor? Is he a good anchor? Honestly, I don't know anything about Krillin, so I can't answer that specifically, but you're thinking about it the wrong way. So, having a good assist doesn't necessarily make you a good anchor. Good anchors aren't just assists. Sometimes they have good assists, but that's like mostly coincidence. They don't have to have like the most broken assist to be a good anchor. What they need to be able to do is make the 3v1 comeback. So, the main things you want is a mix-up, or really strong neutral so that the opponent cannot hit you, or if you hit them they explode. So for example, let's take Bardock by himself. Bardock by himself is not that scary. So if he is your anchor, like, how do you open somebody up? Even with Spark, like, there is nothing really to be afraid of. It's mostly pressure. You can react to the majority of the options that he uses. And the same goes for Cell. If Cell is the anchor on the team, there is no real reason to get opened up unless you're willing to take a turn. So you're not as scared. Frieza without Golden has like this. That's pretty unreactable. So he has a good way to open you up. But the strongest thing about him is the fact that he can zone you, he can control space, and he's pretty hard to hit because of this. So when picking him as an anchor, you pick him because you go, okay, he has at least one mix-up, and then he can control the pace of the match, which is really important, especially when trying to make a comeback. You need to be able to deal with assists. There's a lot of things you need to consider. So he's a pretty good pick, and also he does a lot of damage. You have to consider now that when your character is by themselves, now they get a huge damage boost. So now he's by himself, so you do 20% more damage, so that is 1200. It usually does 1000, so I can show that. I can prove it that it's 20%. So it does 1000, right? And your damage scales with Spark, so when you Spark and you're on your last character, it actually doesn't give you 40%, it gives you 30%. So it increases it, but it doesn't stack. Well, it stacks, but like, you know what I mean. So 1300 damage, that's what it is. So that's one thing you need to consider, but the other thing you need to consider is if you pick one character specifically to play the anchor role, all I have to do as your opponent is just Dragon Rush you once, snap him in, and then target that character. So if you are playing the team on the right, for example, and I see you have Frieza, I can just snap him in and then try to kill him, and if he dies, you have no character that can play the anchor role. So when constructing your team, you have to know the risks that come with playing a team like that. My team has two characters with command grabs and one character with one 50-50, or one mix-up rather. So Team Gohan, for example, the best thing about him would be this. The ID cross-up legs. And this with the damage boost does a lot of damage, but it just gives you the ability to open the opponent up. Like, it gives you the option to do it, right? Which is really important. The other two characters, though, have built-in mix-ups. They have command grab. So, base Goku can always open you up like this. And that does 18%. And he doesn't do a lot of damage, but the fact that he has this option means that you can make comebacks because you can open up the opponent. It's really hard to make comebacks if you cannot open up your opponent. So with the 20% boost, all of a sudden, and then I dropped it instantly. that's doing 20%. And that opens up the stagger pressure, so if they get hit by that, they explode because they're trying to jump the command grab. And then they die. So the fact that you have a mix-up tool is really, really strong. So you need to keep that in mind. And then if you have Spark, then you could do combos like this. And then all of a sudden, your combo is doing off a command grab 40% before supers. But if you don't have Spark, just the mix-up alone and the initial damage is something to make your opponent afraid of. That makes sense? Broly is another good example of an anchor. He does it all. He can zone the opponents. Has an option to stop projectiles, so assists aren't as strong against him in general. Really, really good buttons. And then the damage scaling increase is insane. So Spark is 20%, so let's assume he's an anchor. You get grabbed once, you get level 3'd, and this would do over half your health. All of a sudden, now you're in one mix territory to die. You get hit, you die. You get mixed, you die. That combo was awful, but he can kill you. You have to believe me. And if he has both Spark and the damage boost, well then, you're screwed. So, this video is like not too in-depth. It's like kind of like obvious, but not obvious, but nothing extraordinary, right? When picking your anchor, just consider the things I mentioned here. Remember that if you only pick one character that can play the role, or that you pick specifically for the role, they can get focused and they can die. And just because a character has a good assist, doesn't mean they can play the role of anchor. So Krillin, I think, is an example of this. The character is really good with assists, and he can play the team role well. But can he play by himself? That's something you have to think about. So if you want my opinion on good anchors, I could just go over the cast right now. And the game is still early, so I could be wrong on some of these, but from what I understand now, these are the characters that I think are good. So if you want a character that can make the comeback, my opinion, Base Goku, Yamcha, Frieza, Base Vegeta, Broly, 16, yes, 16 can make the comeback, SSJ Vegeta, Trunks with Spark. He needs Spark. Without Spark, I don't think he's that good. Keep that in mind. Everyone else, I think, can win without Spark. GT is to be determined, but I think he can still do it. I have to see more. Teen Gohan, I would say, is okay. Goku Black. I don't know anything about her. So yeah. I don't think Tien is good. I know people are going to be like, what about Tien? I don't think he's that good anchor. I personally prefer him mid, but that's just a whole other topic. But yeah, I just want to get that out of the way, kind of give you guys my perspective when it comes to picking anchors and just general team building. So just keep these things in mind. If you guys want me to go over the characters I went over, why I think they're good anchors, I could do that next. But if not, just thank you for watching, and yeah, play the characters you like now. The game is new. It's time to explore.